I also couldn't believe it when I saw the score because I was hoping for a high score, but I didn't expect to get 805. Yeah, I had to look at it for a couple of times to make sure that it was actually what I was seeing. So there's not a lot of questions out there. I don't think there's a lot of sources where you can get good quality questions. And I think that's where the e-GMAT section helped me a lot because there's a vast variety of questions.
Mhm.
And honestly, it's about all the different kinds of data sets which you can get. Because I think on the actual exam as well, almost all the graphs, plots I got were completely different from what I've solved before. So having that
Mhm.
variety, going through all that variety in practice really helped me be ready for anything basically that would come up in
Mhm.
the exam. First of all, thank you for the last time push program. I think it was really helpful. So, it's one thing doing all of this on your own, but then having a mentor or someone who's been through this process multiple times, they someone who would know how to go forward. That's really really helpful. So I was giving mocks, I was giving these sectional mocks, but then how to analyze them, how to plan my path forward. That's why I think you really helped me. You helped me analyze my weaknesses there, how to address those weaknesses, and then how to maximize my score in the future. Just blindly solving questions does not really help you as much. That's what I've seen, that it wouldn't help me
Mhm.
much if I just go on solving 20, 30 questions. It doesn't make a huge impact. But then after solving those questions, actually analyzing where you went wrong, what kind of mistakes you did, how to avoid making those mistakes in the future. That analysis is really important. And that's where, the data analysis, which e-GMAT matters, it really simplifies that process.
So, hi everybody. Welcome to today's special interview with a very special person, Shrutav, who made history by scoring a perfect 805 on his recent GMAT. A big congratulations, Shrutav. What was your feeling when you saw that score pop up on the screen?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rashmi. So yeah, I also couldn't believe it when I saw the score because I was hoping for a high score, but I didn't expect to get 805. So yeah, just disbelief. But yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah. So, did you pinch yourself? Did you jump out of the seat?
Yeah, I had to look at it for a couple of times to make sure that it was actually what I was seeing.
Got it. So, it's been 3, 4 months that you have been, you know, going through this journey for GMAT prep, and each day has been exemplary. Across the board, I was telling you, I don't know what to talk about. Verbal quant, data insights, perfect scores there. And I just want to congratulate you from the entire e-GMAT family. And also, I want to take this moment to tell you how proud we are all of this achievement. A big congratulations, Shripa. This is, as I said, this is really amazing. So,
Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot.
so before we deep dive into your journey, Shruta, and that we will, uh, tell our viewers something about yourself and what value does GMAT hold in your journey, and what was that biggest challenge getting into the GMAT preparation that you
Mhm.
faced?
Okay. Yeah, so I am an engineer, right? I've been working for about a year and a half now. So I knew I wanted to do the MBA for some time, and GMAT is, I think, necessary for that. So I think the biggest challenge for me was getting into the mindset or getting motivation to start studying again, because it's
Mm-hmm.
been a long time since I've studied the last time. So getting into that rhythm, sitting for like 1 or 2 hours at a stretch, it was, I think, really tough in the beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
took some time to get into that, to pick up the pace, and then you know I think that's the
Got
biggest
it.
challenge for me.
Got it. Did you ever think at that time when you started your journey, like I think around December, Jan
Yeah.
this year, that you will have a perfect score in hand?
No, I don't think any time throughout the journey I would have thought that. But
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Shraddha, you mentioned that your biggest challenge was to be able to sit and study because there was a long disconnect between when you actively studied. So you came on board e-GMAT and you took your first mock and then created your study plan. So,
Hmm.
what value did that study plan have in helping you face this challenge that you said was one of the biggest obstacles in your GMAT prep?
Um, so I think with the study plan, it really mapped out everything that I had to do from the day I
Mm-hmm,
took the mock until the day I would give the actual exam.
mm-hmm,
So before starting the entire process, I had a good idea of how much time it would take, how much time I would need to dedicate every week, every day, and
mm-hmm.
if it would be feasible to dedicate that much time. And
Got
apart from that, I think it also highlighted what are the weak parts or the
it.
parts which I need to focus on, so that I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't waste time on maybe something which would be a strength for me.
Got it. Got it. And I think per your study plan, verbal was your sort of weakest section. Am I right? I know it was
Yeah.
already at an 81, 82 level, but that is where you started out, right?
Mhm.
So getting into verbal, that's where your prep started. And let's start discussing your verbal journey from it, to that perfect V90. Everything is about perfect score. So what were the biggest challenges in verbal getting into the verbal prep?
So getting into the prep, I gave them out blindly, right? So I didn't know anything about what I would face in verbal, and
Mm-hmm.
looking at those arguments and then the reading comprehensions for the first time, I think it was really confusing to actually understand what was being asked from me. So
Mm-hmm.
as I think the options are all very very close, and I think that threw me off the first time. So
Mm-hmm.
it all started from understanding the core of the arguments and. So exactly how, like when you read the argument for the first time, what are the things you need to look out for? What
Mm-hmm.
thinking or pre-thinking you should do before going to the options and maybe getting confused with the options. So
Got it. So clearly the intuitive approach to solving the questions was not working out, right?
yeah,
So coming to if we were to tackle both CR and RC, from being unsure about your answer choices, unsure about what is the right answer, you
yeah,
and it became one of your strengths as you completed the course. So you mentioned pre-thinking. So can you tell our viewers how pre-thinking really helps you crack that variability in the score for CR?
yeah. So for me, like initially, the way I was doing it is I was just going through the arguments and then looking at the options, and that would confuse me a lot of times. So then this in between step, pre-thinking, really helped me understand and first understand what the argument is talking about, and then think about why they've mentioned each and every word, each and every sentence, and come to some conclusions on my own. And once I had those conclusions in mind, going through the options was a lot easier, and I
Mhm.
felt that I could eliminate a lot of them and maybe get down to just one or two, and that would lead me to the right answer.
Got it. So clearly, as I was showing in the chart, it did a great deal of improvement to your accuracy. When it comes to confidence, how confident were you now while selecting the answer choice?
Yeah, I was very. I think towards the end, my confidence increased a lot, right?
Mhm.
Because I think I practiced a lot as well. So going through each and every question every time with the same process, doing the same pre-thinking, it does wonders for you. I think every time I came across a CR question, I had that in the back of my mind that I could get down to this. I could actually solve it correctly.
Got it. So now coming to RC, starting with CR is a great foundation for RC because you end up using pre-thinking for RC too. But I know that when it comes to RC, there were certain aspects in RC which were your Achilles heel, be it your history-based passages or humanities-based passages, and that's where you had those passages during your first attempt. So tell me,
Yeah.
how did the reading strategies, which is essentially a systematic approach to reading the passage, help you finally crack this?
Yeah, so I think I'll be honest. Before the first attempt, I was getting the RCs correct, so I didn't really follow the pattern which I was supposed to follow, and then that led to uh, the score in my first exam, where I think I got three RCs and all three were humanities and historical passages,
Mhm,
and then I just completely messed them up. So the second time round, I tried to follow the same pattern, going through
mhm,
every paragraph and thinking about each of them, thinking why they're there. And I think that pattern, following that each and every time, and then practicing a lot, that really helped me in so during the exam, that just came to me naturally. That whenever
Mm-hmm.
I see an RC, I would automatically get into that habit of going through each paragraph, thinking about each paragraph, and I think at the end that's what helped me the most.
Got it, got it. So the history passages made you go back to the reading strategies finally, and you were able to crack it, right?
Yeah, I think it told me I needed to put a lot more effort into reading.
Very true. Because as we discussed, if your reading strategies are in place, there should be no reason why a particular kind of RC passage should be your Achilles heel. It should
Yeah.
not be, right?
Yes.
So that's brilliant. So how was the test experience when it comes to, I know that this time you got only one history passage for RC, but how easy or
Yeah.
difficult was tackling these questions with this great foundation and good approach just that you had built forward with?
Yeah, so I think compared to the first time, first of all, I had a lot more confidence, right? So that helped me a lot. I think during my first test, in the beginning, I was a little bit nervous. I would take some more time in the first 5 or 6 questions. But then on the second attempt, I had that confidence. I knew that I had the method down. It's just that I had to apply that, and that
Got it.
that really helped me in cutting down the time.
Got it. Got it. So, Shrutam, as we said, you started with verbal because of the three sections that was sort of your weakest section. Moving to quant, you already were at an 86, 85, 86 level, I think, in quant. So you were starting out at a better state, right? You were starting out at a better ability level. And we took a different approach in quants, wherein, you did cementing quizzes. We dove into the data, identified your weaker areas, and then fix that. It was a different kind of strategy as compared to verbal. But how good was the strategy? And, how did doing those quizzes on Scholaranium really helped you identify those weaker areas in front?
Right. So quant. So naturally, because I'm an engineer, I had experience and confidence in quant. So I think that's why I started off at a high level. But then there was
Mm-hmm.
still some gaps and weaknesses, and I think just blindly solving questions would not have helped me identify them. But going through the quizzes on Scholaranium and going through the detailed analysis and reports, that really helped me pinpoint which concepts were lacking, how I should work on those concepts, and how to avoid making those mistakes in the future.
Got it. So, in terms of using this strategy, and this is where, we extensively use the data analytics. What are your conceptual weakness, but also I think what are your process weakness? Because a lot of times it is not that, especially for somebody who's starting out at a higher ability, it is not that you don't know concepts, it is about the approach, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I think the approach part, because I think the concept after the concepts so clear, I still wasn't getting like a complete full score. So
Mm-hmm.
the main points there were, I think, first, the I was running out of time, and I was not reading the questions clearly or carefully. So the thing is, when you start reading a question and you think you know how to do it, sometimes it just slips your mind what they're actually asking
Mm-hmm.
for. And I
Mm-hmm.
think identifying that and actually reading each and every word carefully, that's what really got me to that really high accuracy level towards the end, and
Got
in
it.
the low time. Yeah.
Mm. This seems like master comprehension skills being used in quants, right?
Yeah.
Verbal skills.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
some long word problems there. So
I know. Yeah. So, Shruta, we also through this data, as I started by saying, we identified those pockets of weakness across the four subsections and points, and we did do the course for those particular topics, and we used PACE to help us ensure that we are not spending a whole lot of time on things that we already know of. And
mm.
you saved a good 40 hours thanks to PACE with the limited quant that you did. How useful was PACE in really helping you pinpoint those areas, and how helpful were these 40 hours that you saved?
Yeah, they were really, really helpful, right? Because this is a pretty long journey, and
Mm-hmm.
any time you can save is really significant. So,
Mm-hmm.
but in identifying my weaknesses, I think Pace did a really good job because it gives you a couple of questions. Then if you can solve them correctly, it's kind of it's your strength. Otherwise, you can classify them as weaknesses. Then you can the Pace really mapped out how I'm supposed to go about first building the concepts and then strengthening my problem solving skills in these weak areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Got it. I think I have a nice number properties, which was one of the sections that we worked a lot. For example, estimation and rounding. That was one of your stronger areas. And here we can see because you scored well on the diagnostic quizzes, PACE actually recommended that you skip all the files, just do the last bit of learning activity, that is the GMAT skill files. You just work on your approach. So I'm sure as a working professional, any second, any minute, any hour saved is a big, big blessing, right? So how
yeah.
confident were you once you were done with the course that you are going to get that Q90? Because honestly, when I look at your stats, and this is something that we have seen a lot of times, you just hit every stats out of the park. Q90 waiting to happen, which was
Yeah,
uh, predicted, right? Uh,
yeah.
so
I mean, yeah, just looking at these stats was a confidence boost for me, right? So like I
I bet.
started from somewhere in the 80s, go up to the 90s. Yeah,
Got it. So now coming to, so we did, I think the order we followed was verbal, quant, and then finally we reached data insights. And here you did do the course. What was your biggest challenge in data insights? I know it it was time management, like
yeah,
it is for a lot of people. But
yeah.
towards the end, as we were taking mocks, yes, there were some hiccups, but essentially the time management sorted itself out. So what
Hmm.
is if I were to tell you what are those two, three things that are really helpful in managing time for DI and scoring well in DI, what do you think that would be?
Yeah. So yeah, the time management was the biggest issue for me. And initially,
Mm-hmm,
looking at it, there were only 20 questions. I thought this would be the section where I wouldn't have any issues with time. But turns out that was uh, the section which gave me the most issues. But
mm-hmm,
anyways, so what really helped me in managing that time was I realized that I was taking a lot of time in MSRs, right? And they would usually take me not of 4 minutes or so, just reading through all of the tabs and then answering those two or three questions following. Um, so, first identifying that was a weak point for me, that was really important because I had to make the decision of, okay, can I skip this question, put some
mm-hmm,
more time on the other questions, and then come back, maybe, spend the remaining time on this MSR. Uh, and apart from that, I think identifying my strengths as I think data sufficiency was a good strength for me. So whenever I would see a data sufficiency question, I always thought I need to solve this as fast as I can. And I don't want to waste any time here. Whatever time I can save, I can put it in MSR. So yeah,
got it.
setting down those
So,
strategies.
mm-hmm, yeah, okay. So, when it comes to the methodology that you adopted for DI, like the owning the data set approach that you sort of was that you sort of internalized through doing the course, how useful was that in terms of practically solving DI questions?
Yeah, so DI is a pretty it's a new section on the GMAT, right? So there's not a lot of questions out there. There's not a lot of high quality questions out there. So apart from maybe the OG questions, I don't think there's a lot of sources where you can get good quality questions. And I think that's where the e-GMAT DI section helped me a lot because there's a vast variety of questions.
Mm-hmm,
And honestly, it's about all the different kinds of data sets which you can get because I think on the actual exam as well, almost all the graphs or plots I got were completely different from what I've solved before. So having that
mm-hmm,
variety, going through all that variety in practice really helped me be ready for anything basically that would come up in
mm-hmm.
the exam.
Got it. Got it. Shruta, having worked with you, I also know that we used the sectional mocks on e-GMAT platform extensively. After every
Yeah.
section, we did the sectional mocks. We also used sectional mocks as a way of maintaining before in the run up to the mock. So, what value did these sectional mocks play in the in nailing this score?
Yeah, and the sectional mocks were, I think, really helpful because traditionally the way we would do it is go through all of it one section at a time, right? So once I've maybe revised a section, I think it would really be helpful to solve a mock that's just based on that section. So like once I've studied for quant, I would like to just test my quant skills, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where the sectional mocks really help me because I wouldn't have to basically put in 2.5 hours, 3 hours in giving the entire mock. Getting really tired, maybe not analyzing the mock well. Instead, I could just get it done within 45 minutes. Maybe give another sectional mock, try to improve. So
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. You also use the Sigma X mocks, the full length mocks, and
yeah,
I know you are hitting it out of the park when it comes to the official mocks. Here is where I think these mocks gave you the right kind of challenge, I believe. So, what is
yeah.
your take on the Sigma X mocks, the data analytics that come built in with the mocks?
Yeah, I think the marks are on an average at a pretty high level, higher than what the official marks were, and that's what actually comes in the GMAT. So what I felt personally was the actual GMAT exam would have the level of questions much higher than the marks, at least in quant that was there, and the Sigma X marks they were able to replicate that high level, actually challenge me, get me ready that once I face a tough question in the actual exam, I wouldn't stumble or I wouldn't waste any time there. So
Go.
I think that
Yeah.
really helped me.
I think this was your last mock that you took, right? I was looking at the. So that's very good to know that it played a good role in the prep. So now coming to the data analytics on the Scholaranian, which we used extensively as a part of LMP, and we'll talk about LMP in a bit. But what value did being able to really analyze your performance using leveraging the data analytics on the Scholaranian platform play in fine tuning and honing your skills?
Yeah, I think it really makes the entire process easy, right? So just blindly solving questions does not really help you as much. Or that's what I've seen. That it wouldn't help me much
Mm-hmm.
if I just go on solving 20, 30 questions, it doesn't make a huge impact. But then after solving those questions, actually analyzing where you went wrong, what kind of mistakes you did, how to avoid making those mistakes in the future. That analysis is really important, and that's where the data analysis which e-GMAT does, it really simplifies that process. So I wouldn't have to do any of that. You would do that for me, and I can actually spend more time in learning how to avoid those mistakes in the future.
Very true. Very true. I think what you said is resonates very well because when you go on Reddit and you see the kind of questions that come up, people asking questions about their prep, you see that I have practiced this and that and so many questions, but I don't see improvement because I think end of the day, what matters is quality over quantity. It is not the number of
Yeah,
questions that you solve, but with whatever limited questions that you solve, what is the inference that you can draw? What are the findings, and how do you sort of fine tune and improve question per question and quiz per quiz and mock per mock, right?
exactly.
So now coming to LMP, the Last Mile Push program, you and I have been working since, I think through your two-thirds of the journey. So
Yeah.
tell me how was LMP and your experience with that?
So, first of all, thank you for the last man push program. I think it was really helpful. So, it's one thing doing all of this on your own, but then having a mentor or someone who's been through this process multiple times, someone who would know how to go forward. That's really really helpful. So I was giving mocks, I was giving these sectional mocks, but then how to analyze them, how to plan my path forward. That's why I think you really helped me. You helped me analyze my weaknesses there, how to address those weaknesses, and then how to maximize my score in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And I pushed you to take the test after that 6 months, but
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
I,
I was not really sure if I would, maybe want to do it again. But yeah,
very true.
thanks for pushing me. That was a great decision.
Yeah, I think that brings us
Yeah.
to the next part that we wanted to discuss. So, Shraddha, you got a 695 on your first attempt. We knew getting into that particular test that you could have done better, right? Because your stats were there, your marks also told the story that you should get a good score. But on that particular day, things did not pan out the way we expected it to. You got three history passages, right? And
Yes.
various other things. 695 is a good score, but we both of us knew that you could have done better. But and just about 20-25 days down the line, you reattempted, you got a perfect score, and in the interim between the first attempt and the second attempt, there's not a whole deal you did. It was not like you solved a ton of questions. It was just about maintaining your momentum, and getting
Yeah,
into that mindset of that killer attitude on the test day. That is what we worked on between these two attempts, right? So tell
exactly.
me, what was the difference between the first attempt, where again you were well prepared? This should have happened in your first attempt itself, but it did not, and why it did not, and what made the difference this time? Because, as I said, there's hardly anything much you did between the two attempts. Maybe work on overcoming your phobia for the history passages in RC, but
Yeah.
what is it?
Well, so yeah, I think conceptually, I think in both of the attempts I was pretty much there. It's not like I learned a whole deal of new stuff in those 20 days between the exams, but strategically and mentally, I think in the second exam I was at a much better place. Right. So the first one, I kind of knew what I had to do, but I didn't really have a strategy laid out. Like, okay, if I encounter something tough or something throws me off, how should I handle that? How should I deal with that?
Mhm,
And that really affected me in in those history RC questions. I ran out of time in the verbal section, and then also in data insights, I got two MSRs. I spent a lot of time on those two MSRs. I had to guess the last 3 or 4 questions. So that was a good learning experience for me. It helped me set out the strategy that I wanted. And in those next 20-25 days, I think it was just sticking to the strategy, giving mocks, getting into that mindset that, okay, when I give a mock, I want to do the best I can. I need to do this so that once I go to the actual exam, I can replicate what I can do in the mocks. Right. So yeah, that was one part of it, and another I think which was really important is not getting burnt out before the exam. So
mhm.
on the first attempt, I was studying the entire day before, and then going through my error log, going through my notes, just a couple of hours before the exam as well. This time around, before the exam, I took a nice nap. I had a nice chat with my parents. Everything apart from GMAT, it really freshened my mind. When I sat down for the exam, I could actually feel that I'm about to do better. I'm really fresh. I can put all my energy into this exam now, and that really helped.
Got it. I think that's very, very important, right, Shrutav? Like, the day before the test, we sort of neglect that day. The day of the test, yes,
Yeah,
of course, you're taking the test, but the day before the test, we still want to cram up whatever we can. We want to revise whatever we can, and for a lot of people out there, we want to take a mock also. But what
yeah,
we need to understand is whatever had to happen has happened. There is nothing that you can change in a single day. What you can change is essentially getting physically and mentally ready for the test the next day. So that day T-1 should all be about being calm, being focused, being at that optimal mindset on the test day, being test ready. And that
exactly.
doesn't mean solving question. That doesn't mean revision. That could mean watching a movie. That could mean taking a nap, talking to your parents or your partners, whatever, you know, puts you in the
Yeah,
right mindset. Okay. So great, Shruta. A perfect score is very rare. You got that. So it's an amazing achievement, and I know, if anything, every single point of that score is well deserved and well earned, hard earned, well earned and hard earned. You have put in your hard work there. You have never let gone. You've been consistent with your preparation. You followed the plans to the T. And I know, having worked with you personally, that what have gone into this. So if I were to ask you, for 100 percentile score, what are those two, three, four things that really make the difference? What would they be?
uh, so okay, maybe so the first point would be getting all the concepts down, right? So on the test day, it shouldn't happen that you come across a question and you have no idea how to solve it, right? So maybe you know how to solve it. It might just take some more time. Then that might be a decision you make. Okay, maybe I want to do this later. I can leave that now. But it shouldn't happen that I just have no idea how to approach this question. So getting all the concepts down, getting them, strengthening them a lot. I think that's a necessity. Apart from that, the most important thing is just getting into the mindset of the test day. In practice, I mean, it happened to me as well, right? I was getting good scores in practice, but on my first day, I couldn't replicate the mock scores on the actual test. And so, getting mentally ready, having laying down a good strategy of how to approach these questions, especially if something is going to throw you off. How do you deal with that? Because you don't have a lot of time. It's not that you can think about how should I do this. It should all be laid down that, okay, if this happens, then I'm going to approach it in this way. So that saves a lot of time, and time is of the essence in the GMAT, right?
Yeah,
So
got
yeah,
it. Yeah. I think those are really, really helpful suggestions, and I'm sure people who are watching this interview, and I'm sure there are going to be a whole lot of them, they are going to take a great page out of your journey, and I hope that it helps them get closer to their dream scores too. I think end of the day, all of us can achieve a good score, but
yeah,
what we need is the right kind of strategy, the right kind of temperament and consistency that is needed to get there. Right.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Shrutav, for taking the time out today. Uh, Again, super,
Yeah.
super, super happy, super, super, super proud. Um, you know,
Thank
I
you so
have,
much.
I fall short of words to express the joy I feel about your achievement.
Yeah.
But
No,
congratulations, I think
thanks.
that doesn't cut it. Right.
No, thanks a lot, Rashmi. Yeah, thanks to the entire team, and the great platform you've put together. I think it really helped me to get to where I wanted to be, and I'm grateful for that. Thanks.
You're welcome,
Yeah,
Shraddha. Really, really happy to have given you the right kind of tools and resources that you needed. Thank you so much. Congratulations. I'm sure great things are in store for you. So all the best for those great things that are panned out for your future too. All the best. Thank you.
thanks. Thank you. Yeah.